Welcome to Thriving Rockstar with Alex Reagan. Today's guest is Matthew Dylan Diana from Message to the Masses. How you doing, Matt?
Good man, how are you?
Good, good, good. So I was excited to get you on the show because I happened to stumble upon your Instagram and realized that you're an artist and you're very involved in fitness and shredded.
Thank
And
you.
well, listen, I know that takes dedication to maintain. That's not something that happens by accident. Uh,
Yeah.
but I'm interested in dissecting what makes an artist sustain his career over time, um, as well as what they're doing on the business side of things. And you do meal prep among other things as well, right?
Yes.
Okay, and we'll get into detail on all that. So, what are you currently up to?
Well, right now, a lot of my focus has been on my solo project,
Hmm.
which is something I broke off from the band to do.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much just me going up to a studio that I've been recording with a friend, and he runs it.
Hmm.
And I kind of was just like, hey man, let's make an EP out of like 5 songs, and I went up there with lyrics, and that was
Hmm.
pretty much it. Obviously, I had an idea of what I wanted to do, but
Right.
more or less, I had no idea what to expect because I'm a singer, a drummer, and a pianist, but I'm not a guitar player where I can
Mm.
create songs. So
Hmm.
as of now, I just kind of do them on piano, which I mean, in a sense, you can make a song out of that, but
Sure.
he kind of took all my ideas and meshed them into what my EP became,
Oh well.
and um, it is what it is now. So I've just played my second show this last Saturday as a
Mm.
solo artist, which is super weird because you turn around and your band's not there, and you're like, all right, cool,
Wow.
just me.
Wow.
And it kind of has a sense of like a pop star. You're singing the backing tracks, with
Mm.
all the instruments in it, but your voice, and then of course I have the harmonies there, so it's more full of a sound.
Hmm.
And also, again, the Stay Naked Fit meal prep company. Right now, we're at a point where, we're having our own kitchen built for us, which is an awesome achievement.
That's awesome.
And once it's, up and running, we're going to have the website also done. We're getting actually a demo of the website in about 10 days or so.
Hmm.
So we're very excited about that. And me and two of the business owners, because there's three of us, have also decided to spend some time learning how to be a personal trainer and get certified because we just feel like obviously that's something we should be experienced in as far as like when we take on clients and stuff like that, we want to do meal plans and workout plans as well as do the meal prep.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, you may as well. You're just kind of expanding on things you could do for that demographic. So
exactly.
yeah, so that's cool, and we'll get into that. But I want to kind of pick at the solo thing, right, a
Hmm.
little bit. So that I looked into that. That's a disaster piece, right? It's a 5 song EP, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I noticed, yeah, you put the songs up on YouTube, and I seen them on Apple, not on Apple Music. I seen it in the iTunes store though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's available everywhere. I mean, I honestly can't name off all the digital music outlets that there are nowadays,
Of
but I
course,
mean,
yeah. I
for
mean,
sure I know it's on Google Play and Apple Music, I think
sure,
maybe, definitely
sure.
iTunes.
So you used like a standard distribution thing to kind of, to
Yeah.
shoot it out there. That's cool. Yeah. Um, so yeah, it's a very different game, right? Like you said, no band behind you, and it's all eyes on you. I'm sure most eyes
Yeah.
were on you anyway because you're the front man of
Yeah.
Message to the Masses. But like, so that band, some, from what I read, some stuff went down, and you guys kind of are, looking for new members, or what's the deal
Hmm.
there?
So pretty much what's happening is, we went on a couple of tours back in, I think, 2015 is when we got signed by Artery Recordings.
Hmm.
And about a year or so after that, a couple tours went kind of bad. Not really necessarily anyone's fault, just some really crappy stuff happened with
Mm.
the booking agent that we had, and health related, and it was
Oh.
just a really hard time. And it kind of just really hit the band hard.
Mm.
And some of the members at the time, because we've had, two or three people coming in and coming out. They just, they're at a place where they need to, focus financially, and, get stable as far as that.
Hmm.
And, so, they were just like, oh man, I can't do this anymore. And then, some other members would just be like, hey, like I got to focus on me right now. And you know
Hmm.
what? And I still love all the guys. It's unfortunate because, we had a lot of momentum and now
Hmm.
we're kind of just sitting on some new music that we haven't released yet because it's like,
Hmm.
we got to figure out now, as far as the campaign goes, like how to release it. I don't want to just like drop it and, have it flop because it's,
Hmm.
we spent money and time on that just like any other band. And you want it to, get as much views as you can possible because that's the
Definitely.
whole point.
Definitely.
So as far as now, it's me and a guitar player. He's out in LA. I'm here. We kind of send music back and forth. So
Hmm.
but nowadays that's pretty much what it is.
Hmm.
Unless you're in town with the people, then you're just hanging out with the members, recording together, just like you would at a recording studio. So
Right.
luckily, we both have our own setups to be able to record and take notes and hey, do this, do that, and just send it back and forth until it's ready to actually go to a recording studio, which is a lot easier too because then they know what we want, what our sound is going to be, and they just going to help it, enhance it and make it to where everybody else is at in the game. So
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. That's it's interesting. Yeah, my band is um, in somewhat of a similar position, so I get that, and it's frustrating, especially when you're sitting on music and there's these little things that are holding you back, and it's like you're
mhm.
anxious to get it out there, but you don't want to
Yeah.
sell it short. So I totally get where you're coming from, and we're in a very interesting place in 2019 with the music business, and part of my inspiration for this, to start this podcast on the business side of things is that we now have a direct access to our audience, right?
Mhm.
And we can share our music directly with them, and we can have a real conversation, and as it could be difficult, when you're not working with big distribution channels and things like that, you have the sympathy or even empathy of your audience there, just that you can keep in the loop, and
Yeah.
and things can land with them. Um, so so now you've taken this kind of solo route.
Mhm.
What inspired you to do that?
I mean, honestly, it's just it's been about 6 months before since we've released our last single with "Message to the Masses,"
Hmm.
which is Perceptions, and that's kind of like the whole thing where we kind of just put it out there because we're like, we need to get music out. It's been 6 months, so
Mm.
we dropped that single, and it's kind of like one of the things where like we dropped it and it's a great song, but
Hmm.
it's got a 20th of the views that the other two music videos we put out under our label. So it just goes to show. I mean, we did some advertisement for it,
Hmm.
and I mean not too much, just because like again, everything's been up in the air and we've been super busy.
Hmm.
But now that it's been another 6 months, I'm like, well, okay, maybe we should release another song just because. But
Hmm.
I need to figure, like I was saying, figure out the way to go about that. And then on the side, I was just like, you know what? Like, I need to make music and release it just whenever I want to release it because, like, I
Sure.
can't keep waiting. This is
Hmm.
like music's my life, and I mean, as far as priorities in my life, it's obviously health and fitness and my music. It's like all one. That's what I've
Hmm.
been trying to build my whole life, and
Sure.
it's just cool to just be like, you know what? I make all the decisions. I'm doing this and that,
Hmm.
and even in the studio, he was like, "Hey, you tell me what you want me to do, and I'll do it." And I was like, "Awesome!" Like it was
That's
just kind
great.
of like relieving because you don't have like 4 or 5 other dudes going like, "Nah, I don't really like that part right there.
Hmm.
We should change this, or it should
Hmm.
sound like this." It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm the final say.
Yeah, I get
So
that, and I've been kind of flirting with the idea of writing a record, um, yeah, kind of like a guitar record thing. So,
that'd be
uh,
tight. You should do
yeah,
it.
yeah, and so I might have like this block of time to do that, and I might do that. But, um, it's you had mentioned, band members had some issues where it's like, yeah, I mean, it's all of this investing, and it's hard not to have any kind of financial return for long periods of time. It's like there's only
Yeah.
so much you can give of your time and of your money to a project that's not producing anything in return besides, the passion of playing it, right?
Yeah, totally.
And on that note, you know, we need to figure out creative solutions as to ways of earning money. Now, I think most of us as artists are have dabbled in many things. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm sure besides fitness and meal prep, you've done your share of different kinds of little things to earn, right?
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
one thing from studying some psychology, I realized that the character traits that make an artist are similar to those of an entrepreneur. Actually, fundamentally, we're the same person.
Yeah, yeah. I totally see that.
We're lateral thinkers, and we don't do well in like a corporate setting trying to come up a hierarchy. We're better at creating new hierarchies, or
Yeah,
just starting
yeah.
businesses and stuff like that. And then when I think if artists realize the potential that they have for doing that, for being visionaries of a new thing, then they can go into that. And you have an audience. You have an audience from your work with your band, and now growing audience as a solo artist. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of a market to push whatever you're up to, right? Whether it's a meal prep or something that you can create particularly for that audience or continue to create, whether it's subscription services and things like that. So, and everyone's doing something unique. I feel that, what you're doing with the fitness thing is a great thing because for one, I think there's an emergence of a health consciousness within the music business. Because
Yeah.
for a while it's been like just live the rock star lifestyle and so now the, over the past I guess 15, 20 years that's really been emerging. It's become fitness itself has become pretty popular, but
Yeah.
it's still kind of been on the outskirts of the music business. So thanks for being one of the people who are headlong in front of that. Now, how does it work with your meal prep thing? Like, what do you do with that?
So, I'll kind of take it back on how it all started, but
Sure.
pretty much, when I was younger, because I've been working out probably for 10 years now, about like for like being actually serious about it. But
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like heard the meal prep. I'm like, what is meal prep? And I'm somebody that kind of like just already ate healthy because I realized early on I was like, there's so many ways to make healthy food taste good, and
Right.
that's why people don't like it. They had this back in the day at least, more or less, like people had this like idea of, oh, healthy food's disgusting. And it's like,
Mm.
no, you just have to like cook yourself and,
Mm-hmm.
experiment just like any cook would in the back of a kitchen and figure it out. And eventually I was like, you know what? I was like, what I'm doing wrong is, I get this meal prep, but a lot of the meal prep was like, still kind of like not the best food, but they were
Mm.
portioning it out. And I was like, that's where I'm messing up. And so now
Mm.
I use this app called MyFitnessPal,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's amazing. Under
Mm-hmm.
Armour made it, and I literally, at first it was so annoying, but now it's like every time I eat, I log every single thing that I possibly can if
Yeah.
it's loggable, and that's how I keep my body in check.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I started doing the meal prep, and figuring out that there's these things called macro calculators that you can
Mm-hmm.
actually take someone's personal information along with their goals and whatnot, and then you can calculate exactly what they need for each meal. So
Sure.
eventually, I did it so many times for myself. I still do it to this day.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you know what, screw it. I should make a meal prep for other people, and I started posting about it on my personal stuff, and eventually I came up with the idea of creating a meal prep company on the side of my band, and it was originally called Message Meal Prep because my band was Message to the Masses, and I
Yeah.
was like, oh,
Sure.
that's cool. But the graphic design guy I was working with, Logan, really cool dude. He actually is one of the main, as he would say, design monkeys for Black Craft Cult,
Mm.
and I love that company too. So we just started talking, and he came up with the design that we have, which I thought would be a really good business idea to base it off of Starbucks image.
Mm,
Instead of a C-buck or whatever you want to call it with the circle, it was like a really strong dude. Which, I mean, we're thinking about changing it because it's kind of like you got to have a logo that kind of, I don't know, I guess like responds to both genders. I
sure.
mean, more or less, it is a woman in the Starbucks thing, but it's Starbucks. Like
Hmm.
they're good. They don't
Yeah.
have to change anything.
No.
So, but yeah, and then it just turned into Stay Naked Fit, and I thought that was a way better name than
Mm,
Message Meal Prep, and I didn't want it to be part of my band's thing anymore because like I said, I have two business owners now with me,
hmm.
which we haven't all be best friends, but luckily we're able to keep the business and the goofing off separate.
Sure.
So.
Yeah.
Um, and then that's just kind of how it came to be, like, and it simply is just, putting, it on a scale and then just weighing out, like, let's say some brown rice, some chicken,
Hmm.
some broccoli or sweet potatoes, black beans and ground turkey and so on and so forth, steak, broccoli, asparagus,
Hmm.
and just figuring out what each person needs. I mean, obviously when the company comes out, there's going to be set things, but it's going to be able to be somewhat customizable for each customer, so it
Sure.
does fit their needs.
Yeah.
So our idea now is kind of just having 3 or 4 different meals with different amounts of the protein,
Yeah.
but you'll always get like a cup of veggies or a cup of complex carbs, which is like more of
Yeah.
like a time release more than what it just hits you instantly and could
Right.
possibly turn into fat if you're not working out, right then or
Right.
doing a post meal for it.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. So now it's just becoming this thing that we want to have a huge. It's going to be like a multi. I don't even know how to say it, but we're meal prep is the first thing we're doing, but
Got
eventually we're
it.
gonna have
You'll
bakers
expand
come
it.
in
Hmm.
and make our own protein bars, and it's going to be like this like
Sure.
huge fitness entity.
Okay,
So
I was gonna ask you how, well, first of all, is it like mostly local, and also how you plan to scale, how you plan to grow this, and also how you plan to integrate this with what you do already, right?
mhm.
Perhaps, what you do musically could inform the decisions that you make, or even like it can be synergistic in some unique way.
Yeah, I mean, so pretty much like my original plan, and it's still part of what I want to do. It's
Hmm.
almost more of like going to be my personal thing within the company,
Hmm.
but to take for example, Escape the Fate.
Hmm.
Really cool dudes. They're my friends, and every time they come to Phoenix, because I'm in Tucson,
Hmm.
um, I show up to their show, hook them up with meal prep, and they, in exchange, they'll wear my merchandise and get us
Mm,
out there, stuff like that. Which it's all free for them because I love those guys. They're really nice
sure.
dudes, and all I ask is for them to just talk about it honestly, and I'll hook them
Interesting.
up. And there's some other bands too that I'm looking to go up there with some meal prep. I think it's there's this band that just announced that they got signed with Stay Stick Records.
Hmm.
They're called Dead Crown. I've been talking to some of those dudes because I met them a couple weeks back or maybe a couple months ago. But they're really cool. They seem a little interested, so I might bring them some meal prep. Of
Fascinating.
course,
Hmm.
uh, Attila and Escape the Fate come through. I'm
Hmm.
going to try to hook up both of them with the meal prep and just kind of get them an idea of what's going on with us. But
Sure. Sure. Now let me ask you this, because when I interview artists, one of the things I ask them is like what their diet looks like and how they eat before they go on stage,
yeah.
and how they're, and how they deal with like temptations on the road and things like that when they're touring. Like I was just interviewing Neil Morse, and he was saying how like he does pretty well throughout the day, but a post show band wants pizza and he caves, right? So,
Yeah.
but then he like eats he cuts the crust on the second slice,
Oh, nice.
yeah, and just eats a second topping, and everyone's looking at him like, really? But yeah, I
That's
mean,
funny.
you do what you got to do, but that's very interesting what you're doing. So, one thing I talk about is how playing on stage is a unique athletic feat in and of
Yeah,
itself, and especially if you're a singer, you need to watch certain things that you eat. Dairy might give you some kind of mucus on stage and things like that. So
exactly.
having, if you're meal prepping for these bands, I'm sure there's some consideration for like how it's going to sit while they're up there. A lot of these artists kind of go by not eating more than, like giving it a few hours at least
Yeah,
prior to performing. I think it
definitely.
was Santana. I think Neil mentioned Santana says that he fasts and plays fasted and then kind of eats
Oh wow,
after. Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah, it's very interesting. Everyone's experimenting, man. These are conversations no one's really having, so that's why I'm in this space. John Petrucci told me that he tried to go like low carb last tour with him and Mike Mangini. You know,
Right on.
yeah, yeah. So that everyone's experimenting in their own kind of way. So this is cool. This is cool
Yeah, I
that
mean,
you.
I wouldn't say that's a bad thing because I mean,
Hmm.
a lot of it is you're just sitting around in a bus, like
Yeah.
just not being able to use their sugars. So I mean, if you're going low carb, that's got your body has less to store into fat. So
Yep.
I totally get why he's doing that.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a lot of bus. Just there's no. You have to go out of your way to work out.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and which is well, let's talk about that. Like, so you've toured with Message to the Masses. When you were on that tour, were you thinking about on your last tour with them? Were you thinking about fitness and how did you work out on the road?
Yeah, I mean, luckily, because I wanted it to go as smooth as possible. Obviously, it didn't, but I did all the research and stuff like that because it's my life, and I
Mm-hmm.
want to make sure everybody's happy and
Mm.
everything's set. I researched, several gyms to see where there could hopefully be one that was everywhere,
Sure.
and I'm enrolled into two gyms. I'm enrolled into LA Fitness and I'm
Mm-hmm.
enrolled to Anytime Fitness. And it was
Mm.
Anytime Fitness that really, piqued my interest because they literally were everywhere. Like, I mean, we went, the longest I went without working out, which has been, I can't remember the last time I went this long without working out, but it was like a week because of tour. And I was like freaking
Mm-hmm.
out. I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
like I feel so fat and weak.
Right.
But like for example, like a really random small town that you never think would have a gym, and not only that, it was down the street from the venue.
Wow.
There was an Anytime Fitness in Farmington, New Mexico,
Hmm.
and then where else were we? We were somewhere north. I'm saying northeast, and again the same thing happened where there was an Anytime Fitness literally like 10 minutes. So for me, it was lucky because I was the only guy in my band. For the most part, for the whole time the band's been alive, is like I was like the one dude that really wanted to work out all the time. And
Yeah.
so what I would do is I would get in my gym clothes, and then take my show clothes because also Anytime Fitness have very nice showers,
Sure.
and they're more like personal. They're not like, oh, you got to wear sandals because there's like hundreds of people coming in here and showering. And the floors are disgusting. They like constantly clean them. So I would just work out about 3 hours before the show or something like that. That way, like by the time I'm done working out, I have like an hour to do my vocal practice, and then I'm on stage.
So, I mean, what
Um,
about nutrition? So, how would you get your post
yes.
workout in?
So what I would do is it's crazy, but this also somehow worked out. But
Hmm.
at least because that tour, the last one when I was a month, and I just happened to so happened to have a kitchen that I could cook in at least once a week. So what I
Oh wow.
took advantage of that was, I was like, I took a lift to the grocery store that was
Yep.
closest to where we were staying, cooked a meal's worth, or I mean a
Mm.
week's worth of meals, and then got a cooler, threw them in the cooler with ice, and
Mm.
then I would make sure the ice was, always good, so food
Good.
wasn't going bad, and
Right.
it made me laugh because it's like I was saving so much money too,
That's
and I was
awesome.
eating healthy, and I could just go in there, and
Wow.
I actually made our van have a microwave
Hmm.
because we put an inverter in there, so I just threw it in the microwave, and I would just be, munching, and my band would be complaining, going, "Oh man, I'm so hungry." Like, let me grab, and I would give them a couple of the meal preps just because I was like, "Yo, check out how good this is, and like how
Right.
easy this is." Like,
Sure.
you feel so much better. It's
Yeah.
like when you're eating shit and you're stuck in a
Oh
van, you're just
man.
like, "Oh, fucking irritated."
Dude, I have a photo from my last tour recap where I have like a crappy bagel that I got from some like gas station
Yeah.
with uh what's it called, like a meat one of those beef jerky on it.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, and some mustard, some yeah, something that's just shouldn't be eaten, like,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, you're totally right. That, and first of all, that's awesome, both on like saving money and, and having like proper nutrition in on
Yeah.
tour. Because when you're properly fed, it's like it's not just you feel good, you feel good physically and mentally,
Yeah. Exactly.
and it's a struggle. The tour life it's not a it's a very unusual way of living.
Yeah. Yeah.
And anything that you can like control and to keep your health up is awesome. So whether you could train on the road the way you were, and that's dedicated. A lot of artists I talk to, they'll have bands with them. That's what I did. And so I'll just find a place wherever we're staying to just kind of throw the bands behind, into a door or whatever, and just train.
Yeah. Better than nothing.
Oh yeah, definitely better than nothing. You need to make do.
Yeah, I
um,
mean, I thought about getting specifically those dumbbells that they're on the stands and you can adjust the weight. So you
yeah.
have like a bunch of different,
Hmm.
different weights just with two little dumbbells, and like that alone, you can do so much with that. And then
Definitely.
a pull-up bar if there's somewhere on the van or something you can hook it up to,
Hmm.
or you can do push-ups with it. Like at least there's that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you eat healthy, like you're not really gonna have to worry about getting overweight.
So
So.
on just to kind of conclude that, so that's the training and the meal. What about supplementation? Like, what'd you take with you?
Yes, so I'm like one of those freaks where like I had this like big ass container just filled with like my BCAAs, my
Sure.
protein powder, because I didn't
Yeah.
care. I was like, hey, it's taking up room, but I need this.
Yeah.
So from time to time, I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, I need some more protein. I'll just load up the shaker bottle with some protein powder and then
Hmm.
just chug it, and then take my vitamins and all that stuff. Kind of
Sure.
had it organized, and
Yeah.
we have these like little things you can slide under the what do they call it, the bucket seats in the van, where
Yeah.
we have all like the silverware and toilet paper and all that stuff, and like
Hmm.
just random things, and shaker bottles, stuff like that.
Sure.
So
Yeah. How about sleep? It's because you traveled in a van, but you guys
Mhm.
stayed. Where did you sleep?
so depending on where we were at.
Hmm.
Um, we sometimes would stay in hotels. I mean, obviously,
Hmm.
at our level, it was like you'd stay in like a crappy hotel, but I mean, it's so much better than the van
Oh
because
yeah.
we have a I ended up buying a 15 passenger van with a 6x12 trailer. So I mean, it's not the
Hmm.
smallest. I mean,
No.
and there's only, I think there was four of us in the last one, so
Okay.
we were able to, because there's about four bucket seats
Hmm.
and then two, pilot and passenger. So we took out two of the bucket seats, left the back one, had the one right behind the two individual seats, and then what I had this company that helped us out with. There was like an
Hmm.
audio. They built a stand, put a TV up, and then we had this room right in front of that to lay down. So
Mm.
two people would lay down on sleeping bags and pillows
Hmm.
with like a nice little like memory foam cushion under it. One
Sure.
would sleep on the bucket seat in the back, and then one in the bucket seat right here in the front.
Mm.
But I would say at least maybe once or twice a week we'd get a hotel room just because we could afford it. So,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
but
Mhm.
sleep's a huge thing. I mean that's something that
Yeah.
no matter what, like you kind of have to sacrifice unless like you're one of those bands that have like the little like the huge tour buses where you have your own little
Yeah.
compartment, shut everybody off and
Hmm.
super comfy, or you have hotel rooms every night.
Right.
So
Yeah.
And that was the worst part, was just like going into the gym, like regardless if you're eating healthy or not, like you're just like,
Yeah.
ugh, I'm tired. So,
Yeah.
but
Hmm.
it's all mental too. You know,
Right.
I don't have to push so hard for that.
Did you adjust how you trained, with the conditions, like with the lack of sleep and all of that? Did you train in a different manner? Or did you kind of like keep the intensity the same?
Yeah, I mean, because the thing is, like when I'm at home and I'm working out, like I like to do at least an hour and a half to 2 hours of working out.
Hmm.
But I know that I can just go straight home and eat as much as I need to. Where
Hmm.
even with the meal preps, in food in general, I would really just try to conserve my energy as much as possible. So I
Right.
mean, in a sense, if you do HIIT training, which is high intensity interval training,
Hmm.
it's still pretty like intense on your body and your energy
Yeah.
levels. Where if you were to just drag it out for 2 hours, but I'm an ectomorph, which means I burn literally everything
Oh
constantly.
yeah.
So the faster the better, because then I can go and eat some food, and then I'm
Yeah.
good, and then I just relax instead of just like, oh, 2 hours, 2 straight hours of my body just eating everything
Right,
possible.
right. And
So
yeah, and this is something that just should be more common knowledge because it'll help more people, but um it unfortunately isn't. So I'm an endomorph, right? And
mhm.
so for me, I kind of came from the other end. And so for those of you who are listening who are like, what the hell they're talking about, like,
Right, these guys are
so
creatures.
yeah, 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 we're just like strange aliens. Um, so tell our listeners what an ectomorph, mesomorph, and ectomorph is, just real quick.
Yeah, so I mean, pretty much, I'm an ectomorph where you burn everything that you put in your body, like pretty much like instantly. Every
Hmm.
2 hours you're eating, and you're going to naturally have toned and sleek body. You're going to
Hmm.
be like you're going to look ripped naturally. I mean,
Hmm.
obviously, you still have to do the work and work out.
Hmm.
Mesomorph's the opposite, where well, not necessarily. It's more of like it's the ideal bodybuilding
Hmm.
body,
Hmm.
because you gain muscle so easily,
Hmm.
and you look like Arnold pretty much. Like you
Yep.
just have that slim yet massive build,
Hmm.
and it's not too crazy where your body's burning too much, but it's also not storing a lot. And then of course the third one, which is just like
Hmm.
your body holds on to everything,
Yeah.
and you got to work extra hard. And I don't know
Hmm.
what like deciphers that when you're born and
Mm.
created, but it is
Yeah.
what it is.
I mean, it's partially, I think, genetics and what
Yeah.
people inherit, from what their parents were, basically.
Hmm.
And that's not just to kind of, put that as a cop out. It's like, oh, if your parents were overweight, that means you have to be. But
Yeah.
there is something where, when if an adolescent or some pre-adolescent person puts on fat rapidly or in high amounts, they actually gain in number of fat cells rather than just enlarge the fat cells that are there, which is what happens when you gain weight as an adult.
Exactly.
And those people who gain the number of fat cells often struggle with their weight their entire lives, unfortunately. And that was me. I was a bit of a fat kid, and yeah, so I do have to train pretty hard. Fasting is a pretty big thing for me.
I mean,
To
that's the thing
Yeah.
too.
Hmm.
Like, it's also how you work out and what you eat. Like,
Hmm.
for you, obviously, you're going to eat a lot less fat because you don't need it, because your body already tends to store a lot more fat than per se me, where I'm eating high fat because my body is literally using it all the time, or I'm eating a crap ton of carbs too,
Hmm. Hmm.
where someone with your body type doesn't need that, because again, it's going to turn these sugars are going to turn into fat. And it's
Hmm.
like, for me, it's like, people are like, how do you eat so many carbs? And I'm like, I literally, if I don't eat it, I feel lethargic, like I'm
Hmm.
going to pass out after,
Yeah.
like if it's 2 to 3 hours and I haven't eaten a carb, it's like instant, like the keto diet. Like
Yeah.
people, they switch over and they're like, their
Right.
energy levels are dropping, they
Uh
feel
huh. The
crappy
keto's
headaches.
worked pretty well for me.
Yeah,
I've
I'm not
I
saying it's a bad thing,
Oh
but
yeah.
it's the effect that you get. That's how I feel
Sure.
like every three
Oh,
hours I don't
definitely.
eat
Like the
carbs.
initial effect of
Yeah,
keto. Yeah, no,
yeah,
it's devastating. When you get fat adapted, it's pretty awesome, but it's like it takes time and it's it's definitely a hard to sustain way of eating, especially while traveling. And a
Mhm.
touring musician is a traveling person, so.
Yeah.
um, so as far as like one thing I traveled with when touring is green powder, just to
Okay.
yeah, just as a comprehensive tool, and I made my band consume it because
Nice.
because it's just like, okay, this is going to be our like insurance against getting sick.
Hmm.
And it worked pretty well. We still ended up like getting sick towards the end of the tour because the conditions,
Yeah.
um, but it helped fend that off for quite a while. And because it has a huge amount of vitamin C from natural
Hmm.
sources, like it's a cool thing. Do your bandmates or have your bandmates when you guys were touring done any health conscious kind of stuff, or it was just like you were the one trooper?
I mean, they did some like again like I gave them some of my meal preps.
Hmm.
I kind of showed them like I would kind of just be like, hey, let's eat here because this is literally all I can eat. Like I can't eat there, I can't eat there, and so then
Mm,
they would like eat something a little healthier.
yeah.
I think a couple of them did some like cardio and stuff like that. I think they might have joined me a couple times at the gym,
Hmm.
but yeah, I mean for the most part it was like I'm way up here with the fitness, and it's kind of like they're just like whatever, it's tour. So
Yeah, yeah, I hear that. They don't prioritize it nearly as high. And one thing that just kind of sparked up for me, it's like it's hard to be that health conscious individual, not just within your band, but within your life. I'm sure in some contexts where you're the guy who won't eat certain places, and and it's a social, it's tough socially. And so how do you manage that, like mindset wise?
well, I mean, at first, just like anything else, that you start out doing, you're just like trying to figure it out. You're like, well, I don't know, or like, oh, everybody else is doing this, or you're just like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll eat a pizza, whatever.
Hmm.
Everyone else is eating it, but eventually, like as I started to switch over to healthy food,
Mm,
it in my mind it became so easy because I was like, why would I eat this in a sense garbage
mm,
and feel like garbage, an hour later? To whereas if I just ate the healthy food, which I actually enjoy eating,
mm.
and I feel amazing mentally and
Right.
physically, it's like, why? So eventually it became like, for example, like, I'm not a real big smoker. Like, yeah, I have a mod and I, smoke the e-juice, but it's like, I never was a smoker before that. And so
Hmm.
it's like cigarettes. Like I look at unhealthy food, like cigarettes, like I have no, like, I just don't want to, I have no interest. Like
Right.
I look at it like as unedible almost in a sense.
Right.
I'm like, I can't put that in my body. That does not belong in my body. Like, why would I do that? It's like
Right.
looking at bleach and going, oh yeah, totally. Let me drink some of that.
Right.
Like I just look at it as non-edible. Like I just can't eat it. So
Yeah.
over the years, it just became so easy to just be like, no, I'm good. Like, no, it's okay. I mean, if I
Well.
want to eat unhealthy food, like a
Mhm.
cheat day, like I'll eat the one thing I love is donuts.
Mhm.
And you can even be smart about when you cheat because
Of course.
when I do that, I eat a donut or two,
Hmm.
and your blood levels and your insulin just skyrocket because you're not eating a bunch of crap all the time,
Right.
and you actually have an crazy pump
Yeah.
to where it's like almost more intense than if you were to take your pre-workout alone. But with the combination of those two, because like I don't do it all the time
Yeah.
because of this reason, so that when I do it, I have an excellent workout, and you just go. You're done. And then by the time you're done working out, you've already burnt that and you've already enjoyed it too, which is awesome. So you're like, oh sweet, I get to have donuts, not worry about the side effects of gaining weight, and it's
Hmm.
just you have an awesome workout. So
Yeah. I think that's one thing that people would benefit people to realize, that it's like nothing is really off limits. It's just being smart about timing things and about context.
hmm.
And when to put things in. I think I've done a video or some Instagram post some while ago, few years ago or something, where it was like, well, here's a cheat day, right? And
Yeah.
and I went hard, right? And then I fasted the next day.
Yeah.
And that's, just learning to manipulate in that kind of way where you can have your cake and eat it too.
Hmm.
Having um, your routine figured out. I think another thing you said, like where you're mindful of what you feel like after eating the meal, because a lot of
Hmm.
people kind of live in a cloud and they're not like mindful of how things are affecting them. Maybe they
Yeah.
eat in a certain way so much that they don't even know what it feels like to have clarity of mind and to feel well.
Yeah.
Like not to feel the lack of any kind of obvious pains and all of this stuff, but like actually to feel vibrant.
Hmm.
And it's an addictive feeling, it's when you really get that, and if you're mindful of that. So it's a good insight. So let me kind of shift gears here a little bit, as to your inspiration and how you keep yourself motivated to do what you do, including the music and all the business stuff that you're up to.
Inspiration. Well,
Hmm.
it's like, I don't know. For me, I've always just like, because I'm 28 years old now,
Hmm.
and in my early 20s, and I think this goes for a lot of people. Like, I just partied,
Hmm.
and it was like the beginning of the band, and like we're
Right.
all just raging our faces off, and
Yeah.
eventually. And the fun thing is, though, I still had a lot of inspiration. Like, I still had a lot of drive then, but I was
Mm.
waking up several days being like, oh, I hate everything. Like, I feel like crap. I don't want to do this. I
Mm.
don't want to do that. But as I got older, I've realized now that like there's just as hard as I work is as far as I'm going to go, and
Mm.
I just kind of look at it as like I can't like obviously I'd take some days off here and there because you
Hmm.
have to like let your brain chill for a little bit so you can have mental clarity because eventually
Right.
you're just if there's too much going on you just like I can't even deal with this. So
Hmm.
but other than those days, it's like I have
Hmm.
a set schedule from when I wake up to when I go to sleep,
Hmm.
and I'll follow that through at least 5 days out of the week.
That's
And
awesome.
the inspiration just comes from what's being created, where I'm at after that. Like
Okay.
I
And
when I
what?
write
Hmm.
music, um, I kind of like I start with the chorus because and then when the chorus just comes out a banger, I'm like, oh man, this song is so sick. I have to finish it. So then
Hmm.
4 hours later, which I don't know how I do this, but my voice is still going, and I just like finish the song because I'm like I can't not I hate hearing a song that's not finished.
Mm.
And then as far as fitness, it's like again, it's just that amazing feeling of like because I try to work out pretty much every morning because it
Hmm.
gives you the rest of the day of just like again mental
Hmm.
clarity. Your body feels great. You're freaking like ready to go,
Yeah.
and obviously looking in the mirror and feeling healthy, looking healthy.
Hmm.
It's a great feeling. You like it builds you so much confidence because you're just like if there's one thing you're going to invest into,
Hmm.
it's what's going to make you happy, what you love to do, and it's your body and your mind. And
Mm.
again, fitness, health, and music are all three of those things for me. So it's kind of just like I look at it as like as far as inspiration, it's just like it just comes to me. Like I'll be at the gym
Sure.
listening to heavy metal because that's
Hmm.
just what I like to do.
Yeah.
It
I
just
hear
gets me
that.
super pumped,
Oh yeah.
and
What do you listen
lyrics
to
just
in the
start
gym?
coming to me. Lately, I've been listening to the new Bring Me the Horizon album, which I mean isn't too metal. It's
Sure.
more
Yeah, I
like
heard
all over
about
the
that. Yeah.
place. And then Dead Crown because I just stumbled upon weeks ago. So I'm like one of those guys that will literally listen and listen to the same album until I'm like I can't listen to this
Yeah,
anymore, and then
likewise.
I'll move on to the next one.
Yeah, it's
Um,
rewarding though because it's like you let the album grow on you and then you really
yeah,
dissect it. Yeah.
exactly. I
Hmm.
love doing that. And then I'll go over new songs. I'll listen to new songs that I've written because when you always go back, excuse me, when you always go back to them, you might want to hear you hear something new that you might want to put in there, or you're just like I don't know, like when I listen to my band's EP that's been out for 2 or 3 years now, I'm just like I go back and listen to it, I'm like, damn, this is I really do like this. Like and then, and of course like again, like I have like 5, 6 songs right now that I haven't released, which I don't know what I'm going to do with them because
Hmm.
it's with, in a sense, ghostwriters that, I don't know if they're cool with me releasing it or not, or going to a studio and recording them. So it's more just like for fun. And
Sure.
I'll just, like you said, dissect them. And then, yeah, I also like listening to like Attila and Amir, like just like really like shit that just pumps you up
Of
and it's like
course. I mean, yeah.
all that shit.
My intro workout is usually like Symphony X, or because I'm a prog guy, and so
Hmm.
that's my thing, or some Haken. Those guys are great. Um, so Animals as Leaders was just
Oh,
playing
hell
from,
yeah.
yeah. So that and hopefully I'll have Tosin on here soon, because I spoke to him about, he does CrossFit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and had a few conversations about that. So it'd be great to discuss some of that stuff. Um, so now, like, yeah, I see all the hustle stuff that you have happening.
Yeah.
So obviously there is something that you're pushing toward. You have some kind of vision for your life, right?
Hmm.
And where you want to aspire to. I'm sure it's not just kind of like a blind running at something.
Yeah.
There is some carrot that you're chasing, right?
Yes.
What's that carrot?
I guess it would be like I think about everything in my life right now, and the only things like I don't have that I would like
Hmm.
would be like the only thing I'm missing is like actually owning a house. Like I rent
Hmm.
right now, and
Sure.
I have a car, I have all the equipment I need for my studio. Obviously, I mean, you can always have more
Yeah.
expensive stuff that'll make it sound better or
Hmm.
make you a better person. But I just pretty much want to be at the point where I'm completely, and this goes for everyone, just like self-efficient. Like, I don't have to rely on anyone or anything. It's just like
Right.
I have all, and I mean, obviously, I want to be a very well-known, not necessarily a dude in a band at this point now, but just a singer. I want to be
Sure.
people that like, oh, Matt Donnie, yeah, he's great. Like, this is his style, and blah blah blah. Like, I love that,
Mm.
and I also want to be. I mean, it all comes to in the end. I'm just trying to help people. Like
Right.
that's the carrot is dedication and passion
Hmm.
and motivation and inspiration. Like
Hmm.
I just want to help as many people as I can in my life
That's
before
awesome. So
I move on.
you obviously have like this kind of calling to create music, and
Hmm.
you're afflicted with what artists are afflicted with, that having to like share in that kind of way.
Hmm.
And I like the fact that you went solo, because it's a bold move. A lot of great players and singers are stuck trying to succeed with their bands, and not everyone is on that same page where they really want to move things forward or are willing to do what it takes. And a lot of them, in that position, don't take the leap to do it themselves or find other artists to collaborate with to really, to do what they're put here to do. And so, I commend you for taking that leap.
Thank you.
It's a great thing. And it needs to be done. And so one last thing on the kind of business side of things. And I think I sort of alluded to this earlier, but like having to, what in what context do you think you can grow this meal prep company, or even something completely different that you've been thinking about, perhaps, that can scale and could be a form of passive income for you?
I mean, that's kind of like what I've been looking at. So, like we have big plans to expand to Phoenix, to California.
Hmm.
Um, and there's just so much that goes into a business behind the scenes where all the it's like being in a band almost like it's
Hmm.
because it's a business. You're a complete entrepreneur. You're doing it all yourself. You're figuring it all yourself.
Hmm.
Hopefully your vision starts inspiring other people that want to join because now we have graphic designers and fitness enthusiasts and
Hmm.
like wellness coaches hitting us up going, hey, this is a really good idea, we would love to be a part of this.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, I was actually telling my guitarist the other day. I was like, because he wants me to move out to LA,
Mm,
so that we can continue the band. He thinks it'll, really jumpstart us again. I completely agree with him, but with the business as of now, like I'd give it maybe another year to
mm,
where I can, leave Tucson and move out there. 'Cause essentially, that's where I want to live. I love California,
sure.
but with the business, I look at it as it's going to supplement my musical career. So once this business is successful and we're all getting our own, shares and our cuts, like I'll be able to literally just dump anything I need into my music, and that being with the band or, I have plans on putting out a full length of my own music again, because I'm just gonna like just keep pushing out songs.
Hmm.
I actually thought of an idea of maybe putting out a CD, like a whole LP worth of singles, and just like one after another, and eventually, once I've released the entire list of singles that I have,
Hmm.
then release the LP. Because if people obviously are liking all these singles, I don't see why they wouldn't buy the album after that.
It's funny you say
So
that. It's because like it's exactly how I planned to release this coming record. Because
nice.
yeah, it just makes total sense. There's no need to just like, okay, you're releasing a single, it's another single, and then just drop this load of songs. It's just like that's such a waste of material.
Yeah.
You can milk each thing with maybe with like a week or two of posts and of marketing it, and you get so much more momentum and traction from that kind of release, from that kind of marketing. So there's no reason to kind of drop something like right away. And here, that there is a caveat to that. It's like if it depends on what your music is like. If you have an EP, then totally. My band works on like concept albums, and sometimes they're just like it doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
to do that. But when it does, totally,
Yeah.
it's a great strategy. So, what are some important relationships in your life?
What do you mean as far as like?
Family, besides your band and stuff like that.
I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, I start with my parents and the rest
Hmm.
of my family because they've all have been here for me through this entire process of whatever I'm trying to do, and
Hmm.
they're just extremely supportive. I mean, when my parents can, they're always at my shows,
That's great.
and friends as well.
Hmm.
I have at least a good, I don't know, 10 to 20 like really really good friends that like almost always show up to my shows
That's awesome.
and make it a priority, and that means the world, you know what I mean? And just
Sure.
like this last show on Saturday, like there was like about 15 of my friends there, and they were all at the front,
Hmm.
rocking out, and I'm
Yeah.
like, it not only makes you look better, but it makes you feel awesome because you're just looking out there going, hey man, all these people give a shit, like genuinely give a shit. They're not just like here hanging out, getting drunk. It's like no, they love the music. They're singing to my music, and it's like
Mm.
they're your friends. It's
It's
so cool.
important.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
because especially you're up there on your own, to see a familiar face to sing
oh yeah,
at, basically like a speaker, they always look for a familiar face to like talk to in the
yeah,
crowd, and yeah, so it's yeah, and just to see that like that support and the artist goes far that really has the foundation of the like family and friends kind of backing up what they do.
yeah. And I mean,
Hmm.
and then I have the relationship with my business partners, which
Hmm.
happen to also be my best friends, and
Hmm.
so that's awesome. And yeah, I mean, as far as that, it's pretty much just my family and friends at the moment.
Hmm.
And yeah, they're everything to me.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, you know, uh, I'd love to get into more stuff, but I think our schedules, unfortunately, currently won't permit it, and I'd love to have you back on here. Um, but in what's like I think we spoke about this in a way, but what's your ultimate goal for your career?
As far as it goes, I mean, I want to, like I said, me and my business partners, I want to make sure that we get to a spot where we're all comfortable, and we're hoping that this will be a really huge thing in our life.
Hmm.
And like I said, I want to be the guy opening up per se the California stores for the business.
Hmm.
All of us maybe opening up the Phoenix stores because you gotta dream big and not even just dream. No, like tell yourself every day like a mantra that it's gonna happen.
Hmm.
And you just have to go as far as you want to go.
Definitely.
Otherwise, you're not gonna make it big. And
Hmm.
so as far as that, my business partners know that the music is the most important thing to me, and same with this company. It's people say it's hard to have like one main priority, but I've been doing it my whole life. Like I've been able to balance both, and so the fitness and health and wellness and whatever you want to call it, and music, I've just made it this whole entity
Hmm.
as one, okay, which is my life. And
Right.
I honestly like would want to be that guy that's able to fly wherever and travel wherever and be able to email and stuff on my phone while taking care of the meal prep business
Sure.
while I'm on tour. You know what I mean? Like
Definitely.
that's the ultimate goal, being
Yeah.
a touring musician, whether it's with my band or not,
Right.
and running a meal prep company while I do that.
Right. So right now you're growing the tree that will give fruit later as you can be out and about.
Hmm.
Great.
And the
That's great.
best part of
Hmm.
it is, if anyone reads up on my lyrics and whatnot, it's all
Mm.
about having hope, pretty much,
Mm.
which is why I released the latest single, "Have Hope,"
Yeah.
because for me that's the biggest thing. And with the music and with the fitness stuff and the
Hmm.
health stuff, like, and the end game is everyone is getting help from me by doing what I love. So
That's
it's a win-win
awesome.
situation.
Yeah. 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 So, if you had one message you can share with all musicians, what would that be?
I would say that consistency is key and to never give up. It's a motto that has not only helped me with music, but with the fitness thing. Like you have to be, and even balanced. You have to
Hmm.
be balanced, consistent, never give up, never have anyone, you know, change your mind about your dreams and your beliefs.
Mm.
Like I always told everyone, I was like, you know what? It was actually it's off of the first song of my EP that really I wrote them and I was like, this is definitely who I've been this whole time, and it's I know I have to keep trusting in what I believe. I have to save me, and it's just like
Hmm.
tells the person, the listener, like it's all on you, man. Like to anyone that I'll ever say anything to, like you are at where you're at because of you. And
Right.
yeah, shit happens because of other people, but that's just a point where you either have to make a decision to get rid of them,
Hmm.
like, or whatever is screwing you with your life,
Right.
or just have it not affect you and become something bigger and stay the course.
Yeah.
So
I hear that. All right. So, disaster piece, right? Yeah. So everyone go and get that. Matt, Dylan, Diana, right?
yes, sir.
All right. All right, dude. It's been a pleasure.
Hell
And
yeah, same.
yeah, hopefully I'll run into you in person soon.
Sounds good, man. I'd really like that.
Yeah, and we can do this again sometime.
Hell yeah,
All right,
more
man.
than down.
Yeah, definitely. Talk to you soon, man.
All right, take it easy.
Cheers.